Ideya is the essence of a person's soul. After some point, humans became aware of Ideya and started manifesting it as physical objects. As a result, humans began assigning ranks to Ideya. The souls that were once equal have now been ranked. Haeundae Special Training High School is one of the schools that have transformed into a training ground for individuals to hone their Ideya and elevate their country's global standing, alongside various other schools. Here, all students possess extraordinary powers that make them stand out from the ordinary. One particular student, Park Jin-sung, stands out from the rest for all the wrong reasons. He has an F-ranked Ideya, the lowest possible. He faces constant bullying from his classmates for being weak. It's like they even hate being in the same class as him. One day, their homeroom teacher comes to the class with some good news. He announces to the class that the government has recognized their school due to the impressive performance of the third-year students. As a result, the military has selected their school as a testing ground for a new project, and it will now transition into a military school. Under the new system, both students and teachers will receive a rank, and the military will scout for exceptional individuals to join their army. The teacher also explains that if they don't like this new system, then the students can request the government for a transfer to a different school. The students express their curiosity about the abrupt transition of their school into a military institution. The teacher explains to them once again that their school has been chosen to become a military school due to the outstanding performance of their third-year student. Furthermore, the teacher informs them that each of them will undergo a rank assessment test, which will be conducted by their homeroom teacher, who also serves as the platoon commander. Every student in the school receives the base rank of private except for one student. That student is none other than Park Jin-sung. He will have to start out as a trainee soldier. Jin-sung's teacher, like his classmates, holds a low opinion of him and believes that he is too weak to handle the challenges that the school will now present as a military institution. As such, he urges Jin-sung to consider transferring to another school. He tells Jin-sung that with the school being hard enough for him as it is, he won't be able to last when it becomes a military school. When Jin-sung tries to tell the teacher about his potential, he laughs at him. Jin-sung knows this is just an excuse to get an F-rank student out of his class. Just out of curiosity, he asks his teacher if he believes there are ranks in a human soul. The teacher replies with certainty while laughing that there are ranks among souls. Despite his outward display of laughter, he is among the few people who still believe that human souls are equal. As the class is divided into squads, each assigned a designated squad leader. Jin-sung is in the third squad, and his leader is Byant Yeong. Unfortunately, he continues to be treated poorly and undervalued by others, including his own squad leader, who wishes he would disappear. But this doesn't affect him much, as he has become accustomed to this kind of treatment. The teacher announces to the class that they will not have their usual lecture, as they will participate in an on-field event instead. The government has sent scouts to the school, and their identities are unknown. This event provides an opportunity for students to showcase their skills and impress the scouts. The school is having a squad battle between students from the first, second, and third years. In the first round, Jin-sung's third squad of second-year students will be facing off against the first squad of third-year students, who are considered the best in the school. Ji-young is both surprised and frightened upon learning that they will be facing off against the best students in the school. Everyone, including him, is convinced that they have no chance of winning, especially with an F-ranked student like Jin-sung on their team. Feeling dejected, he lashes out at Jin-sung. But when Jin-sung stands up for himself, Ji-young's anger intensifies, and he decides to use Jin-sung as a personal shield during the upcoming event. The third-year students are led by Ahn Sung-ho, who is the top-performing student in the school. Their homeroom teacher encourages him to show off his skills during the event so he can attract the attention of scouts. Each student is given a bracelet that uses Ideya power to protect the wearer from shocks. However, the bracelet can only take so much damage before breaking, and if a student's bracelet breaks, they are eliminated from the event. The winning squad is the one that can eliminate all of their opponents. To level the playing field, the second-year squad is given a handicap, which requires them to survive for only 5 minutes to win. But facing off against their highly skilled opponents, even lasting 5 minutes, is a significant challenge. Before the event even starts, the second-year students appear to have lost all of their confidence. Once the event begins, Ji-young immediately runs to the back with Jin-sung, leaving his squad to fight against the third years by themselves. The third-year students launch their attack and easily take out the second-year students one by one. During the battle, one of the third-year students named Jui attacks Jin-sung and Ji-young. The two of them can only watch helplessly as their enemy approaches. However, out of nowhere, Jin Sung manages to react instantly to Jui's movement and dodge her attack. Surprised by this sudden development, she instantly manifests her Ideya, forming an armor all over her body. But Jin Sung seems to have reverted back to his usual self. Jui can't help but think that this is all just an act, as he was able to react perfectly to her incredible speed just moments ago. Ji-young takes advantage of the situation and quickly runs away to save himself. Now alone, Jin Sung realizes that his only chance of winning is to stall for the remaining 3 minutes. He tries to deceive Jui into wasting time by talking to her, but it doesn't work as she demands that he takes out his Ideya so they can continue their fight. He attempts to avoid fighting by telling her to calm down, but this only makes her more upset. With no other option, he decides to finally reveal his Ideya. Jui is surprised to find out that his Ideya is just a regular dagger with no special abilities. She quickly realizes that she is up against the rumored F-rank student. Feeling let down, she chooses to walk away, not wanting to waste her time fighting a weak adversary. Irritated by her response, Jin Sung tries to launch a sneak attack on her with his dagger. However, as expected, the F-ranked Ideya is not strong enough to even leave a scratch on Jui's armor. Jin Sung's classmates begin teasing him once again, and even Jui appears disappointed with his performance, since she had expected more after witnessing his quick reflexes. Nevertheless, he succeeded in wasting some time, and now there are only 2 minutes left on the clock. The third year now focuses her attention on Ji-young, who has spent the entire fight running away. Although he seems scared, but it looks like he had a plan after all, as he uses his Ideya on a big boulder buried underground. Jin Sung seems to know about Ji-young's powers, as he warns Jui just as he uses his ability. Ji-young's Ideya is called Extract and Swing. Using this ability, he can use anything that's stuck as a weapon and fling it toward his enemy, just like the boulder. Ji-young uproots the massive boulder from the ground and hurls it toward Jui with impressive speed. However, his triumph is short-lived as Sung-ho ambushes him and effortlessly takes him down. Meanwhile, Jui deploys her Ideya to create a shield in an attempt to stop the boulder, but it proves to be stronger than she had anticipated. While Jui struggles to hold off the boulder, Sung-ho employs his Ideya to shatter the massive rock into fragments. This upsets her as she wanted to showcase her strength to the scouts. Sung-ho explains that his actions were solely to assist her, as it is his duty as the squad leader to protect all members of the team. As they continue their chat, out of nowhere, Ji-young tries to strike Sung-ho with a baseball bat, but Sung-ho quickly teleports behind him using his Ideya and uses martial arts to take him down. Sung-ho's Ideya is called I'll Definitely Catch You, and it enables him to instantly teleport a fixed distance toward his intended target. Having defeated Ji-young, Jin Sung is now the only remaining second-year student, so Sung-ho shifts his attention to him. Jin Sung begins to panic and attempts to surrender. Sung-ho, on the other hand, doesn't want to end things without a fight. He attacks Jin Sung, knocking the dagger out of his hand. To his surprise, Jin Sung grabs the dagger with his other hand while it's still in the air. He tries to attack Sung-ho, forcing him to back away. Surprised by his unexpected move, he asks Jin Sung who you really are. Jin Sung once again attempts to buy time by engaging Sung-ho in a conversation, hoping to stall for the remaining 1 minute. However, Sung-ho sees through Jin Sung's strategy and confronts him, questioning why he's not putting in any effort to win. To Jin Sung's horror, Sung-ho reveals that the students who don't perform well will get transferred to a different school. Not wanting to get transferred out, he decides to fight seriously for the first time in the competition. He activates his Ideya, causing a dark aura to surround him. With this ability, his physical strength triples, and he can identify his opponent's weaknesses and their Ideya. He is also able to perceive the best route to destroy his opponent, and the only way to turn it off is to destroy the enemy's Ideya or to kill them. We finally learn that Jin Sung's true Ideya is an S rank named Absolute Murder. Sung-ho was taken aback by Jin Sung's ability to instantly identify the rank of his Ideya. He could feel a sudden shift in the atmosphere as Jin Sung's demeanor became dark and threatening, like he wanted to kill him. The other spectators watching the match were unaware of the underlying danger and remained clueless about the situation. Jui is also able to sense the shift in the atmosphere. She recognizes the danger and quickly issues an order to the entire third-year squad to take down Jin Sung. Without any hesitation, the entire team charges towards him from behind and tackles him to the ground, putting an abrupt end to the showdown. However, Sung-ho feels disappointed and tells Jui that he didn't require any protection, but she reveals that in the short moment before they tackled him, Jin Sung managed to attack the entire squad with incredible speed. It was so fast that it was invisible to the naked eye. Instead of being terrified, Sung Ho smiles after finding this out. To Julie's surprise, her entire armor breaks off as it is revealed that Jin Sung's quick attack was not only fast, but really powerful as well. But it's not just her armor. The entire squad's bracelets also break off. Since no one saw the attack happen, everyone assumes that it must have been a mistake by the staff. Sung Ho seems to be the only one who realizes Jin Sung's potential. Just as the 5 minutes pass, Jin Sung also seems to have turned back to normal. After the intense battle ends, Sung Ho approaches Jin Sung and asks for a rematch without any interference. Jin Sung initially protests, but Sung Ho pays no attention to his objections. The audience is astonished by the unexpected victory of the second-year students. Later, at the principal's office, a government advisor reviews the students' files. He discovers Sung Ho's file filled with accomplishments from various high school competitions. But the advisor is unimpressed as Sung Ho is only ranked B. He also reviews Jin Sung's file, which is unremarkable, but something catches his attention. According to Jin Sung's file, his parents passed away when he was 8 years old, and he did not manifest his Ideya due to the shock. He eventually manifested it at the age of 10 when he defended his injured uncle and aunt from robbers who broke into their home. The advisor is surprised that Jin Sung's Ideya is only F-ranked despite the unusual circumstances, as most people manifest their Ideya around age 8. The advisor becomes suspicious about Jin Sung hiding his true powers, and thus requests a personal meeting with him. Meanwhile, the principal is also curious as to why their school was designated as a military school. But the advisor's response is vague, stating that they hope to find a student who can change their past self. Outside of school, Jin Sung leads a typical life. He wakes up at 6 every morning and prepares for school. Since he is responsible for doing all the school chores, he has to arrive early every day. Unfortunately, he is bullied at school, even by his younger classmates. As expected, many people believe that his victory over the third-year students was a fluke. Despite that, his image seems to have improved in everyone's eyes. He still gets bullied, but now he at least doesn't get beaten up like before. However, everyone at school still uses him as their personal errand boy, making him do all their chores. As the day progresses, the homeroom teacher reminds the class that it's the last day to sign up for clubs, which is mandatory for second-year students. Jin Sung feels pressured as the teacher specifically mentions his name and warns the class about a special meeting for those who fail to join a club. He simply wants to join a club that doesn't require him to use his Ideya and is easy to manage. But to his surprise, almost all the clubs are either military-related or revolve around Ideya use. To his relief, he spots a club called the HT Club on the list, which stands for Healthy Together and focuses solely on physical development. He gets excited about joining the club as he can improve his fitness without relying on Ideya. He instantly goes to the gymnasium to sign up. When he arrives at the HT Club, he's taken aback to see a large crowd gathered outside, eagerly waiting to sign up. To his surprise, even first-year students are present, even though they aren't obligated to join clubs yet. It all starts to make sense when he finds out the identity of the club president, which is none other than Sung Ho, the most popular student in the entire school. When Sung Ho finds Jin Sung in the crowd, he is pleased to see him. Not wanting to draw any more attention than he is already getting, Jin Sung tries to run away to avoid joining the club. But Sung Ho drags him back to the gymnasium to take the entry test along with the other applicants. The test is simple yet extremely difficult at the same time. The applicants have to keep up with the president as he performs grueling training exercises. Those who manage to do so will be made members of the club. However, no one has been able to join the club for a year due to the test's difficulty. As the test commences, the students start dropping out one by one and all of the first group participants fail to pass. Jin Sung is surprised that Sung Ho is not even tired after exercising so much. Feeling scared, the group 2 members push Jin Sung to go first. He attempts to drop out again, but Sung Ho pays no attention and starts the test. Surprisingly, Jin Sung works out every day to build up his stamina so he can withstand constant bullying. Despite that, he struggles to keep up with Sung Ho. Before long, he is the only one left. Everyone is surprised that the F-ranked student hasn't dropped out yet. As the test approaches its end, Sung Ho becomes impressed by Jin Sung's tenacity and ability to keep up with him. Even the first-year students watching are cheering for the underdog, urging him to finish the test. With all his might, he pushes through the final sets and becomes the only student to pass the test. Sung-ho welcomes him to the club. Even though Jin-sung tries to quit right away, Sung-ho continues to ignore him, happy to have finally found someone who can match his level. After joining the HT club, Jin-sung begins to receive more attention, with everyone curious about how he managed to pass the difficult entry test. Although he wants to leave the club, he knows that Sung-ho will not allow him to do so. He even considers breaking his arm to avoid going to the club but quickly dismisses that idea. As he reluctantly makes his way to the club, he is stopped by a female student. Though he finds her pretty, he doesn't remember her being in his class. She introduces herself by showing her rank, which is corporal. When she asks for his name, Jin-sung instinctively salutes her and introduces himself as per protocol. Unlike Jin-sung, Se-yeon is not at all intimidated by Sung-ho. Even when Sung-ho tries to put her down by telling her that she should respect her superiors, she gets right in his face and tells him that he is not her superior and that she is just as strong as him. The conversation between Se-yeon and Sung-ho takes a sudden turn when she tries to make him her boyfriend. However, Sung-ho rejects her advances, and she turns to Jin-sung with the same proposition. The awkward situation finally ends when Sung-ho mentions that it's time for their training. He and Jin-sung go to the gymnasium to do the usual training, which are the same grueling exercises from the entrance test. Even though Jin-sung is half dead at the end, it manages to impress Se-yeon, who is watching from the sideline. Se-yeon's curiosity is piqued by Sung-ho's decision to train with Jin-sung, a mere trainee soldier given Sung-ho's rank. She wonders what kind of potential he possesses that would attract Sung-ho's interest, but Sung-ho remains tight-lipped and drags Jin-sung away for more demanding training. The following day, Se-yeon officially joins the class, and the homeroom teacher attempts to introduce her. However, she prefers to take matters into her own hands and selects a seat next to Jin-sung in Squad 3, even going so far as to intimidate another student into giving up their seat. Although Jin-sung is somewhat embarrassed by her behavior, he is unwilling to provoke her wrath. When prompted to introduce herself to the class, she attempts to come across as cheery, but instead comes off as arrogant, much to the annoyance of her classmate. Their irritation turns to shock when Se-yeon mentions her Ideya. Kim's Ideya, known as the White Jade Goblin, is no ordinary entity. It is the only hereditary Ideya in existence, with the Kim family managing to pass it down through generations via intermarriages, obtaining an irregular Ideya. However, the White Jade Goblin only appears in female offspring, leading to a decline in the Kim family's population. Fortunately, Se-yeon was born with the rare Ideya and possesses remarkable sword skills that surpass even the most skilled swordsmen. When the homeroom teacher discovers Se-yeon's identity, he immediately appoints her as the vice captain of the squad, much to Gi-young's displeasure. He is unwilling to accept a transfer student taking on such a critical role, and his anger towards Se-yeon intensifies. Meanwhile, Jin-sung is taken aback by his new friend's fame and abilities. Se-yeon's popularity instantly starts to grow. Everyone starts to think that maybe she should be the squad leader, as she is much stronger and more capable than Ji-young. This only adds fuel to the fire as his hatred for Kim continues to grow. Later on during the day, Se-yeon invites Jin-sung to eat with her, but he politely declines, explaining his long list of chores. Kim is infuriated to learn that he is not only doing chores for his own squad, but also for the entire class. Though Jin-sung tries to downplay the issue, Kim is not willing to let it slide. She takes him to the students who are making him do their chores and makes them apologize. Furthermore, she even brings the matter to the homeroom teacher, who feigns ignorance and assigns Se-yeon the task of dividing the chores to diffuse the situation. When Kim tries to assign the class students their own chores, they attempt to shirk their responsibilities and make Jin-sung do all the work. However, with Se-yeon in charge, no one dares to question her authority, and she ensures that everyone does their fair share of the chores. As Se-yeon's popularity continues to rise, Ji-young becomes increasingly frustrated and attempts to assert his authority as the squad leader over her. However, she is not easily swayed and only respects those who display strength. In response to Ji-young's annoyance, she casually informs him that she will just take over his position as squad leader. This only serves to infuriate him even further. Before she can leave, Ji-young stops her and invites her to meet him on the rooftop for a squad discussion. Jin-sung, who has overheard their conversation, finds it suspicious and decides to follow her to the rooftop. As he suspected, Ji-young has set up an ambush with a group of people waiting to attack Se-yeon. It becomes clear that this was all part of Ji-young's plan to exact revenge on her.
Saiyan remains composed and unsurprised, telling Jiyoung that he will seek revenge against her. He arrogantly reminds her that, as a section leader, she has to follow the sergeant's orders. However, she remains calm and asks if he thinks he is smarter or stronger than her. She adds that rank is determined based on both strength and intelligence, meaning that he will have to be stronger or make smarter decisions to outrank her. Meanwhile, Jin-sung listens to their conversation from behind the rooftop door. Jiyoung grows increasingly frustrated and urges the students with him to manifest their Adaya. Even though many of them have low-ranking Adaya and no special abilities, he believes that by combining their powers, they can defeat her. He knows that making a ruckus on campus with Adaya can get a student penalized, especially if it is a high-rank Adaya. It will easily get noticed. Despite this, Jiyoung had carefully planned everything and had gathered a group of 15 students to ensure their victory. He is confident that they could win since Saiyan won't be able to use her Adaya as it requires a blade that she is not carrying with her. She randomly talks with them about An Sungwo's abilities and intimidates them by asking about her overall ability rank. Despite Jiyoung's attempts to convince the students to push forward and overwhelm Saiyan, she steps forward and reminds him that as an A-rank blade master, she can compete with 100 people below her rank. A horn suddenly appears on her head, and she begins to emit a powerful blue light, activating her Adaya called White Jade Goblin. He orders the students to attack Saiyan since she lacks a blade, which reduces her strength by half. However, she easily blocks their attacks and defeats them. When one of the students complains that she was born with a rich Adaya and doesn't understand the struggles of talentless people, she responds by revealing that she was initially a D rank in overall combat ability. Jiyoung tries to dismiss it as a lie and mind game, but Saiyan insists that her hard work paid off. Jiyoung and the other students attack her all at once, but even without a blade, she proves to be too powerful for them to handle. After Saiyan defeats all the other students, Jiyoung is the only one left standing. Though he seems confident, she wonders if he has an ace up his sleeve. She has been avoiding hitting people in the face, but Jiyoung's plan was to get hit in the face, which would cause her suspension or even expulsion. Jin-sung intervenes and stops her punch, covering it up by pretending to ask if he's okay. When Jiyoung asks if she bought him, Saiyan denies it and Jin-sung becomes sad, saying that he's never welcomed anywhere. Saiyan is suspicious of Jin-sung's F-rank combat ability and is puzzled by how he managed to come from behind the door to such a distance and stopped her full swing before it hit Jiyoung. Jin-sung asks the surgeon to end the situation as the sun is setting, but he's angry and threatens to report them. However, to his shock, Jin-sung reveals that he broke the hidden camera the surgeon was using to record them. Saiyan turns her attention to Jin-sung and asks how he stopped her fist. She tells the defeated students to learn from him and be like him and then takes Jin-sung with her as they leave the rooftop. Later, Jin-sung sees himself covered in blood, attacking his uncle. It feels like a dream as he wakes up to the sound of his alarm for school. After school, Saiyan notices that Jin-sung seems different and exhausted. They are heading to a shared class location, which only the surgeons were informed about by the teacher. Jiyoung stops the squad in front of a bank's door as they were following him. There, they meet students from Heian High. However, the students seem to be interested in talking only to Saiyan, which agitates him. He loudly declares his rank in squad leadership, demanding that they speak to him. Meanwhile, a boy from Sojeon High extends his hand for a handshake, but Jiyoung rudely shrugs. Saiyan intervenes and scolds him for his behavior, explaining that their training score is being affected by it. The boy introduces himself as Lee Sunghwa, the leader of the first aid class. They assume that the bank must have a good relationship with the school, as they have reserved the location for their shared class. However, they are met with 3 guards who treat them like kids on a field trip. Saiyan introduces herself as the section leader of the second-year 10th Platoon 3rd Squad, and she asks Sunghwa to divide the class into 4 and put them into temporary squads to show a good image to the bank. Meanwhile, Jin-sung keeps thinking about what could go wrong as everyone relaxes and gets snacks. Sunghwa comes up to him and asks if he was with Saiyan before. Jin-sung assumes that Sunghwa wants him to ask Saiyan out for him, but Sunghwa reveals that he's interested in Jin-sung. He asks him to get a drink with him from the vending machine. Jin-sung hesitates for a moment, wondering if he should inform the squad or section leader, but decides against it. After getting drinks, Sunghwa compliments his carefree behavior and asks if he is the hidden pro of Heian High. Jin-sung responds that it's his motto. He then asks about Jin-sung's combat ability and his rank, to which he replies that he has an F-rank combat ability, as well as rank. He says he is a double F-rank champion. is intrigued by his carefree demeanor and is impressed when Jin-sung casually throws a can into the bin. He tells him that he doesn't have good reflexes, so he opted for first aid instead. Jin-sung asks about Sung-woo's Ideya, to which he manifests his Ideya, which is a C rank, and he can turn his hand into a blade. Jin-sung says he has a good Ideya with many opportunities for growth. Sung-woo expresses his desire to switch to combat, but his Ideya never advances. Jin-sung encourages him to be confident and carefree, as first aid is just as important as combat, and he gets to save many lives. He walks back, saying he wishes his Ideya could be used to save people. Outside the bank, the Heian High teacher arrives late, and Jin-sung, as always, is given an F rank after the teachers finish scoring based on their normal performance, as it is just model training. When the teachers go to get coffee, they leave the front door unattended, believing that nothing would happen, and students guarding the door from the inside also seem carefree. However, a group of individuals dressed in black combat suits suddenly enter the bank, causing the guards to run to warn the students. One guard is brutally attacked by a man wielding a massive sword, ultimately resulting in his death. The intruders address everyone as their South Korean comrades and demand to fill up a bag they had brought with them. The guards suspect that these combat-suited individuals might be North Korean spies. One of the men in combat attire has a noticeable red glow in his eyes and a scar on his face, indicating that he is a formidable leader. He challenges the remaining comrades to fight him, brandishing his sword and inviting them to attack like tiger moths. Cyan quickly analyzes the situation and realizes that these intruders possess energy levels far beyond those of an average class. The ruthless man with the sword easily takes down a B rank with a single stroke. After witnessing the deaths, Cyan orders everyone to take cover and manifest their Ideya, while ordering the squad leaders to command their own squads. The man with the big sword demands the location of money and cares little for people's lives. Cyan suggests that they hide until the teachers or police arrive. When the terrorists ask for money, she asks them to identify themselves. The leader introduces themselves as the Great Pestilence Syndicate, a terrorist group with an unknown location, history, attire, and no regard for race, status, or rank. They use the entire world as their stage and are known to be cruel, with few survivors in their wake. The students are in a state of panic, but Cyan remains calm and manifests her Ideya. The leader recognizes Cyan's family and agrees to fight her one-on-one, accepting the provocation from Goblin. As the man with the sword asks Cyan to attack first, she realizes that she must defeat him in order to survive. However, she is unable to find her blade, having put it down earlier. The leader attacks her first, and she barely dodges it, knowing that she cannot get hit even once. She then launches a surprise attack with a broken piece of wall and jumps around to dodge his attacks. Some students start cheering her on, but Jin-sung knows the situation well and tells Sung-woo that they have to run so that it will take time for the terrorists to find them. Meanwhile, the terrorist leader continues to attack her, and she eventually gets hit and falls to the ground bleeding. Jin-sung shouts loudly that he is running up, and everyone follows him. The man notices their quick decision-making and orders his comrades to catch all of them. While the men go to find the students, Cyan stands up for the fight once again. The leader likes her toughness and asks her to join him, but she refuses, saying that she cannot trust him. He introduces himself as Kim Il-jung, the greatest military commander and politician, the son of North Korea. Cyan starts to back off, saying that there must be a bounty on his head as he is the greatest criminal. She says she can buy tteokbokki with all the reward, leaving Kim to laugh hysterically. He was given the order to rob a bank with the students in it, and to pull out roots with these students. He thinks it's worth coming here. Finally, Cyan successfully retrieves her blade by flying it toward her. She says she still needs to learn much, but she needs her blade to use her Ideya properly. On the other side, the robbers find everyone except Jin-sung and Sung-woo, who is hiding in the bathroom. Jin-sung tells Sung-woo to rest, but he is worried that they might get caught if they don't go further up and end up like the guards. Jin-sung knows that Cyan will be able to fight for some time, but not until the end, so he tells Sung-woo that they have to fight. He says, "What can a C and F rank do?" But Jin-sung tells him that souls don't have ranks, and he tells him about Cyan's rise from a D rank to an A rank, so he should not be depressed about his rank. As a guard is coming towards the bathroom, Sung-woo starts to panic, but Jin-sung calms him down and tells him to focus and do what he says. The terrorist hears them talking and tells them to come out. Jin-sung comes out and jokingly asks the intruder to teach him his dialect. He threatens that the leader won't mind if a student loses an arm or leg while being captured. Jin Sung manifests his dagger while the terrorist brings out his Adea, which is a B-rank weapon capable of taking his legs from 0 to 100 in a second. Jin Sung orders Sunwoo to run, and he activates his S-rank skill, Absolute Murder, which boosts his abilities threefold. He effortlessly dodges the terrorist's attack and strikes him with his dagger, aiming for his abdomen. Jin Sung taunts the terrorist, remarking that it must be convenient to go from 0 to 100 in a second. The terrorist is stunned that Jin Sung can see his soul name. Jin Sung destroys the terrorist's Achilles heel, which is necessary to activate Adea. While he is contemplating how to kill the terrorist, Sunwoo sees him and urges him to run. However, he responds by asking who you think needs to run, as his skill turns off when the opponent's Adea is destroyed or their life is taken. Jin Sung's eyes are filled with a glowing red power emanating from his Adea, and Sunwoo can see his reflection in his eyes. Jin Sung snaps out of his trance and notices that the robber is trying to escape. He tightens his grip on him and tells Sunwoo to run away. As Jin Sung observes the robber's hands acting as blades and his seemingly indestructible body, he contemplates whether it is possible. Sunwoo decides to run away after listening to him. Jin Sung decides to take Route 13 after the robber says that he is no fun to fight with. The terrorist contemplates how he was hiding his power in such a situation and realizes he needs to tell the leader somehow. On the other side, now that Sayan has acquired her blade, their fight resumes once again. She skillfully blocks Il-jung's sword attack with her blade. Il-jung comments that her sword must possess some divine power to be capable of weakening his soul name. Her sword is called the Four Tigers Evil Slayer, and its blade is said to contain the spirit of the stars. Depending on the wielder's ability, it's capable of slicing Adea above. A rank, Sayan uses Goblin Swordsmanship, which creates a phantom copy with a physical form to attack. Il-jung once again tries to persuade her to join his side, but she firmly states that even though her family may be impatient, she absolutely won't join forces with bastards like him. He aggressively attacks her with his blade, lamenting that he won't have the pleasure of playing properly before killing her. Despite his constant attacks, Sayan remains unafraid and blocks each one. The terrorist leader has greater brute force. Sayan uses Goblin Swordsmanship to attack him with phantom copies. However, his attacks are heavy, and even while defending, she can barely withstand them. She has no choice but to stall for time using the phantom copy's defense. Suddenly, leader's comrades come after capturing southern comrades from outside. Il-jung asks why they're coming from outside, and they explain that they are divided into two groups to capture those who jumped outside and those on the upper floors. Sayan realizes that the military hasn't acted yet, even though students must have caused so much ruckus. Il-jung notices her thinking from her expression and informs her that this place is isolated with a comrade's soul name, making it appear like an ordinary bank to the outside world. Sayan realizes that she needs to leave and get help, but everyone will be dead by the time she arrives. She contemplates her next move. The leader taunts Sayan, asking where her earlier energy went. Meanwhile, a guy from the captured crowd uses his Adea and tries to press the emergency button to call the police, but his efforts are in vain as there is no signal at all. Il-jung tells the employee comrade that there is a soul that specializes in hiding, which means the phones and call buttons won't work. The employee says that they won't be safe if troops know that he is captured. Il-jung says he knows South has a rotting bomber named Lee Sin while he is threatening to teach the employee a harsh lesson. Sayan intervenes and diverts Il-jung's attention to herself by calling him a North monster, which he claims she doesn't understand. He then proceeds to cut off the employee's legs and kill him. Sayan realizes she cannot protect everyone due to the large gap in their strengths and can only try to buy time. The leader threatens to sever her arms and legs and carry her in his bag, telling her to consider it an honor. At that moment, Sunwoo enters the room with his hands raised in the air. Jin Sung had instructed him to come to the first floor and survey the chaos. He takes in the gravity of the situation and introduced himself to Il-jung. He also tells him that the safe with money is on the 5th floor as his friend put it there. The leader notices that comrades that went upstairs did not come back. He orders his remaining comrades to find the boy. One comrade apologizes and asks for a chance. He tells the comrades to bring the boy and the safe with money and calls Sunwoo over and says, "Let's have fun till we wait." Then he announces to everyone that he will spare the life of any comrade who brings Sayan's arm or leg. He poses a question to the group, asking them what they would do in this situation. Some students start to contemplate how can they beat an A rank although she had been protecting them from the start. It's clear who the winner is, and they need to save their life. In the midst of the chaos, Sunhwa sneaks up to San and tells her to hold on just a little longer. Surprised, she questions why he didn't hide. He responds that he came to help while the other students begin to attack her. He declares that he has chosen to be Jin Sung's best friend, and when the leader asks whose side he is on, he stays with San. The leader proposes that 10 can escape alive if they also get Sunhwa's arm or leg too. San demands an option where both of them can escape alive, perhaps by killing everybody. The leader laughs hysterically and agrees to let them live if San kills everyone. However, the tables turn, and a girl argues with San that the majority should survive, but she attacks the girl with her Gotland swordsmanship. The girl defends herself with her Adeya. San instructs her to fight in any way possible as her attack is on her Phantom's copy. Although the girl is the sergeant of her squad, she eventually loses and collapses on the ground after San whispers something to her. A boy comments that San's Phantom copy vanished, perhaps indicating her fatigue. As the two girls fight, Il-jung's excitement grows with the hope that they will end up killing each other. Suddenly, Akan rolls into the room, catching his attention. Then we see Jin Sung standing on the stairs in front of the room, with his death stare that sends shivers down their spines. In the darkness, Il-jung's eyes catch sight of a shadowy figure, and a surge of excitement courses through him. However, his excitement quickly turns to anger, as Jin Sung, without any explanation, hurls something at him while using his soul name. This disrespectful act triggers a wave of irritation within him. But as the object reaches him, he realizes it's the severed limbs of his comrades. He becomes convinced that he is being underestimated. Fueled by this realization, he swings his sword toward the ceiling, causing it to come crashing down. Cyan reacts with remarkable swiftness and summons her Phantom copy, expertly maneuvering it to support the collapsing ceiling and shield the students from harm. Threatening her, Il-jung makes it clear that if any of the South comrades attempt to escape, he will kill everyone. He also reveals that he has comrades stationed outside the building. As he goes to see other South comrade, he coldly tells her to stay in that position. She refuses to bear the burden of holding the ceiling and waiting for the weak students to sever her limbs. However, he understands that if this were her true intention, she wouldn't have chosen to support the ceiling in the first place. After he departs, Saiyan orders the students, urging them to move away from beneath the precarious ceiling if they wish to survive. Some students contemplate the idea that Saiyan would be freed if they moved from beneath the ceiling, but they acknowledge that someone would have to confront either her or Il-jung in order for them to have a chance at survival. Sunhwa suggests the bold plan of breaking through the ceiling together and making a run for the door, but the hesitation of the second squad leader halts his plan. The girl who had previously fought Cyan is the first squad leader and calls out to her. Meanwhile, Jin Sung greets Il-jung on the floor of his dead comrades, expressing his delight at the prolonged entertainment provided by the successive arrivals of Il-jung's comrades. He finds himself both surprised and deeply impressed by Jin Sung, even more so than by Cyan. Intrigued, he extends the same offer to him, inviting him to become his underling and offering a prestigious position within the Great Pestilence Syndicate. After pondering for a moment, Jin Sung mumbles the 9th route is good for him and propels himself high into the sky, launching an attack against the terrorist. Il-jung decides to show him the difference in their strengths by attacking him with his sword. However, Jin Sung swiftly takes flight, soaring high above his sword range and avoiding his every attack. Il-jung remarks that he has no choice but to be caught if he remains ignorant of his soul name. As Jin Sung gracefully dodges his swinging sword in midair, he remarks about his long Adeya name, making him realize Jin Sung's ability to perceive soul names. Furthermore, he discerns that Il-jung's Adeya rank is A+++, with an overall combatability of S negative, and his reinforcement strength is 67%. He is also aware that his skill also enables him to predict the mind of the Adeya's owner, so there is no stopping the greatsword from being swung to the end. After inquiring about Jin Sung's name, he again extends an invitation for him to join, but Jin Sung cryptically responds that he only sees 9, alluding to the routes he can perceive to kill him, but 1 is enough, as there is no need for negotiations, so the terrorist is determined to beat him till half dead, and then take his eyes to the chief to make use of them. The fight continues with strong swings from both of them. With his dagger in hand, Jin Sung's eyes ignite with a fierce red glow, revealing his unwavering resolve. Jiyoung is sitting in a relaxed manner on another floor. He believes that the destroyed elevator doors will give him a significant amount of time. He is convinced that Jin Sung's disruptive presence and the ensuing chaos will serve as a delay tactic. Additionally, he is confident that reporting their dire situation will prompt military intervention, considering their central location within the city. Meanwhile, the fight rages on as Jin Sung finds himself on the brink of being impaled by Il Jung's sword. In a display of remarkable agility, Jin Sung effortlessly leaps onto the blade, narrowly evading it. This infuriates Il Jung, who derisively refers to him as a mere squirrel, capable only of dodging attacks. However, Jin Sung quickly counters, successfully thrusting his own weapon into his opponent's shoulder and swiftly closing the distance to launch another assault. In a moment of realization, Il Jung understands that Jin Sung had been playing with him all along. Sensing the looming specter of his own demise, he unleashes his shadow-like left hand to strike at him. However, Jin Sung's heightened perception allows him to deftly evade the attack, displaying his mastery in the face of danger. Il Jung possesses two adiyas, and this particular one is known as the left hand of the first beast, devoid of any rank or combat abilities. Curiosity sparks within Jin Sung as he observes the unique hand of the leader, remarking that he seems to be planning an escape. Il Jung, growing increasingly angry, retorts that he hasn't heard such accusations in quite some time. Suddenly, a radiant purple light emanates from the ceiling, causing a colossal tornado-like hole to manifest as Il Jung moves his left hand in a spiral motion, shattering the upper floors. Jiyoung is left wondering who could have caused such chaos. As the ceiling begins to collapse, Il Jung attempts to flee, but Jin Sung swiftly closes the gap, trailing just behind him. Il Jung notices Jiyoung observing from the top floor and seizes the opportunity to make his escape. While Jiyoung is contemplating what happened down there, Jin Sung's attention diverts to him as he wants to attack him. However, he dodges the attack, causing him to stumble to the side, but he stands up again and is emanating a foreboding dark aura. Il Jung expresses his gratitude to Jiyoung, who remains unaware of the situation that transpired. He advises Jiyoung to seek safety on the first floor if he wishes to survive and thanks him for his assistance. He is glad about his decision to come to the south after listening to his head. Along with the girl and Lee Bomber, little did he expect to encounter such a psychopathic, bloodthirsty menace as Jin Sung. All the while, Jin Sung glows with a sinister red hue, enveloped in a dense aura, signifying his intent to instantly eliminate anyone who crosses his path. Jiyoung remains skeptical of Il Jung's departure as a result of the insignificant threat posed by Jin Sung. However, Jin Sung approaches him with his murderous aura and piercing red eyes, declaring his desire to play with the squad leader, claiming that Il Jung ran away because of him. Sensing Jin Sung's unstable state of mind and the imminent danger he poses, Jiyoung seizes a metal piece attached to a broken section of the ceiling and jumps down through the hole, swiftly evading the pursuit. Jin Sung, perceiving it as another game of tag as before with Il Jung, follows him with a full sprint with a crimson aura trailing behind him as he leaps. Despite his rapid pursuit, Jiyoung manages to dodge him. However, Jin Sung promptly seizes Jiyoung by the neck, taunting him with the prospect of playing a game involving dismemberment. In response, Jiyoung defiantly tells him to play by himself. Unfazed, Jin Sung tightly grips him, suspending them both in midair, upside down, supported by a metal pipe that Jiyoung clings to, preventing him from plummeting to his death. He refuses to meet his end at the hands of what he deems an F-rank garbage like Jin Sung. Desperate to break free, he attempts to swing and escape his grasp. In the midst of their struggle, a sword flies toward Jin Sung, but he effortlessly deflects it. Using this opportunity, Jiyoung rolls with the metal piece still attached to a section of the ceiling, hurtling toward the first floor. While Jin Sung eagerly anticipates playing with his favorite person, recognizing the sword that was thrown. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the first floor, Saiyan appears fatigued, drawing the attention of the first squad leader Haeyeon, who seems poised to attack her, but Sunghwa intervenes, stating that she is protecting the students and questioning how she can attack someone who fought for them. Haeyeon manifests her Adaya, the striking glove, while Sunghwa manifests his Adaya to restrain her. However, instead of attacking, she orders her squad to rescue the students trapped beneath the collapsing ceiling before commencing the protection of their platoon member Kim Sayan. The remaining individuals are struck with shock, but a woman steps forward, suggesting to sacrifice of the girl and the male student. However, Haeyeon intervenes, warning that she will resort to violence if anyone dares to take a step forward. She reveals that they have uncovered the culprits behind the attacks on the 3rd squad leader in Sojeon High. After safely escorting the remaining students out of harm's way, they clear the debris surrounding Sayan. Sunghwa inquires about what happened, to which Sayan explains that she trusted her platoon member while placing her hand on Haeyeon's shoulder. It is revealed that during their earlier fight, Sayan instructed Haeyeon to pretend to be scared and remember what she had learned in school. At that moment, Heian recalled a newspaper article stating that the plague never leaves a single witness behind. This led her to the conclusion that even if they were to kill Cyan, they would not be saved, as the peste would not let witnesses like them live. Consequently, she ordered her squad to emulate Cyan's behavior. In the present, Cyan jokingly teases Heian, saying, "You know, you acted pretty cool instead of pretending to be scared." She playfully replies, "Well, does it really make a difference when you're trying to sway a crowd?" Their conversation is interrupted by the rumbling sound of the ceiling opening. Cyan thinks it's Il-jung, but Sunhwa informs Cyan that Jin-sung lured Il-jung upstairs. However, she finds it hard to believe, dismissing Jin-sung as a mere F-rank trainee with good stamina. Sunhwa insists that only Ji-young and Jin-sung are missing. He reminds her of the sound they had just heard, prompting him to rush upstairs for assistance. Cyan, still processing the situation and considering the potential outcome of fight between Il-jung and Jin-sung, and decides to follow closely behind Sunhwa. Despite her recognition that she is not in a condition to engage in combat with Il-jung, they reach the floor, filled with apprehension about the ongoing battle between Jin-sung and Il-jung. Cyan cautiously opens the door, and they are greeted by lifeless bodies, along with the unmistakable imprints of a greatsword, witnessing at least 30 strikes. Cyan realizes that Jin-sung must have fought for an extended period. She looks at the rubble and sees a hole that extends upward, far surpassing the one on the first floor in size and scale. It is at this moment Ji-young falls through the hole with Jin-sung in hot pursuit. Cyan throws her blade while trying to minimize the harm to Jin-sung and takes Sunghwa's hand to run away from their landing spot. She questions Ji-young as he lands, asking why Jin-sung is attacking him. Jin-sung, with a sinister smile and a crimson glint in his eyes, declares that it's time for them all to play. As Jin-sung dashes towards them, Sunhwa regrets their decision to come upstairs. Cyan hesitantly asks if he truly is part Jin-sung, to which he responds with a wide grin, a deep dark aura, and a sinister request for them to play. Observing Cyan's Adeya, he remarks that it's quite beautiful but now rotten, a wasted potential. She finds it hard to believe and questions Jin-sung's identity. Ji-young interjects, assuring Cyan that he is not the same garbage they once knew, as he chased Il-jung away. Urging her to run, Ji-young swiftly escapes. Sunhwa explains that Jin-sung wasn't entirely lost earlier since he could still communicate. Meanwhile, Jin-sung contemplates the best way to kill her, consumed by his murderous intent, and declares that he can no longer restrain himself. Cyan retorts, stating that with such impatience, he wouldn't stand a chance as a candidate for her husband's position. In truth, she is merely stalling, providing Sunhwa an opportunity to escape. However, lacking her sword and drained of stamina, she can only hold him off for a maximum of 30 seconds. Jin-sung swiftly lunges toward her, but she deftly dodges his attacks. At that moment, Cyan realizes that Jin-sung's Adeya is powerful yet difficult to control, much like her own, or perhaps even worse. Sympathetically, she acknowledges the hardships he must have endured. Jin-sung momentarily flinches, but then coldly responds with a similar sentiment, bidding her farewell. Without warning, Jin-sung launches a swift and deadly attack by swinging his dagger against Cyan's throat, causing her to collapse onto the ground. The story then delves into Jin-sung's past, starting from when he entered elementary school shortly after his parents' tragic death at the hands of a robber. Left with no other options, he went to live with his socially awkward uncle and aunt, both of whom possessed F-rank Adeyas. His aunt's Adeya was a decaying rope that easily snapped when not tied tightly, while his uncle's was a rotting wooden bat made from a decaying tree, which was used to beat him daily. Neglected and ostracized, Jin-sung faced constant torment at school and in the outside world due to his lack of Adeya and financial means. He would often return home late to reduce the severity of the beatings, and one day he encountered a puppy at the playground. He played with the puppy daily until dusk, when his uncle came looking for him, after being suspected of negligence by the neighbors, and noticed the puppy, so to avoid suspicion he instructed him to take it home. This small act of kindness brought Jin-sung immense happiness. The next day, after obtaining permission, he went to play with Poppy in the playground. He was thrilled to have a friend to play with who happily followed him around. However, he lost track of time and realized he would be in trouble for coming home late. Hurriedly, he ran home, knowing the consequences that awaited him. When he arrived, his uncle greeted him angrily, asking if they were a joke to him for coming home so late, even after dinner time. In his frustration, he became angry at Poppy when the dog barked at him. Despite Jin-sung's apologies, his uncle pushed him to the ground and criticized him for losing his senses. As Poppy barked again, his uncle reacted with aggression, kicking the dog into the wall. They proceeded to restrain Jin-sung, tying him down, and subjecting him to a vicious beating. During the assault, his uncle blamed Jin Sung's parents for teaching him to be weak yet arrogant, claiming that these traits were inherent in their genetics, which justified their murder. The revelation of his parents' death left Jin Sung shocked and speechless. His uncle revealed that he had murdered his parents, not the person falsely accused of the crime. Although his aunt expressed concern about the potential danger of disclosing such information, he was confident that nobody would believe his account even if he were to share it. Jin Sung's anger surged as his dog jumped and bit his uncle, who retaliated by killing the dog. Overwhelmed with guilt, Jin Sung realized that the dog had only wanted to be his friend. Reflecting on the ease with which his uncle had taken a life, Jin Sung couldn't help but question why his loved ones were being targeted. As a result, he felt an unfamiliar surge of murderous instinct. However, his uncle saw Jin Sung had manifested a dagger, assuming only it was his Adaya. Mockingly, his uncle remarked that Jin Sung had an F-rank Adaya, just like his parents, implying that he was merely copying them. Driven by a surge of fury, Jin Sung swung the dagger, cutting his uncle's mouth before proceeding to kill him. The dagger now pointed towards his aunt's eye. He claims that killing is way too easy as they did to his parents, subsequently taking her life as well. A twisted smile crept across his face as he declared that not killing them had been harder than resisting the urge, relishing in his newfound power. He savored the overwhelming sense of satisfaction that washed over him. In the present, Jin Sung wakes up in a hospital bed, his mind clouded with the memories of the incident. As a nurse enters the room, she urges Jin Sung to rest a bit longer and not to stand up, as he complains of his splitting headache. Calmly, she asks him to try to relax. Concerned about the people at the bank and the fate of his classmates, Sunghwa and Lee Sayan, with his last memory being of stabbing her, Jin Sung eagerly asks about their whereabouts. The nurse reassures him that Sayan will be arriving shortly. Filled with anticipation, Jin Sung quickly rushes outside, barefoot, yearning to see her with his own eyes. The nurse softly adds that it might have been better if he hadn't remembered. In the depths of his thoughts, Jin Sung ponders how his body can still function normally despite causing so much trouble. He curses his Adaya, resenting his lack of control over himself. However, as he catches sight of Sayan walking towards him, a wave of relief washes over him. He is relieved to see that she is unharmed and grateful that she is still alive. Humbly, he asks for forgiveness and expresses his heartfelt gratitude to Sayan for being safe and alive. After the pest incident, Hae and Hai remained closed for a week. On the day of the incident, Jiyoung reported the event to the police after Il Jung fled the scene. Tragically, it resulted in the deaths of 17 security guards and 13 employees. Both high schools were fortunate enough to escape unharmed. However, the spotlight turned to Hae and Hai's second-year Class 10, particularly focusing on Sayan, who directly confronted Kim Il-jung. She endured interviews with reporters, while Jin Sung remained in a coma for 3 days. During this time, she refrained from discussing him with anyone. She reassures Jin Sung, urging him to stop crying as he did not harm her, emphasizing that there was no issue with his Adaya manifestation. When classes resume, there is a distinct shift in the atmosphere. Having fought against the pest, they are perceived differently. Jin Sung overhears some students expressing a wish to confront the criminals and beat them like Class 10 as he contemplates their words, feeling that his Adaya caused immense suffering and death despite them being criminals, as no one deserved to be killed in such a way. He realizes the need to learn how to control his Adaya's power and not be tossed around by its influence. In search of guidance, Jin Sung seeks out An Sungho, hoping that he can help him gain control over his Adaya. Jin Sung asks if the rank of one's Adaya affects the distance between their souls. Deep down, he already knew the answer. Sungho explains that manifestations can indeed differ based on rank, but the soul itself has no rank. The essence of the soul remains untouched by such distinctions. Jin Sung attempts to explain that performance varies based on the rank of Adaya, to which Sungho agrees. However, he emphasizes that it doesn't create a distinction in leagues, but he interrupts Jin Sung, questioning if he is trying to extract confirmation and answers from Sungho's own words, which he had already decided upon. As Jin Sung follows this train of thought, he begins to question the existence of leagues between souls. He has always believed that his own twisted soul couldn't possibly be in a higher league solely because it desires to kill indiscriminately. Admitting the existence of Adaya's leagues would imply that the trigger of his Adaya indicates that the meaning of his soul's existence is murder. Sungho reminds Jin Sung that he initially told him to work hard because he thought he lacked effort. Despite complaints, he still came to HT every day. Sungho explains that in this world of soul ranking, higher-ranked Adaya corresponds to greater overall compatibility. Jin Sung poses a question. What if someone with a lower-ranked Adaya manifests high compatibility? Sungho responds that in such cases, the rank of the soul in Adeya becomes meaningless. Sungho adds that you didn't join HT because of coercion, but rather to assess a realm where there were no predefined leagues, especially considering he possesses higher combat ability despite his lower-ranked Adeya. Understanding this, Jin-sung realizes that he had been denying his own Adeya, as he believed his own high-ranked but corrupted Adeya couldn't be accepted. Sungho questions if he has become the answer he was searching for, someone who achieved A+ combat ability with a B-ranked Adeya. Jin-sung recalls how Sunbae always demonstrated how one can keep moving forward through continuous effort. He confides in him about his true Adeya, the one he used in the squad battle, revealing that his F rank is actually an S rank. Sungho believes him, recognizing that there is no benefit for him in lying about defeating the Peste. Jin-sung expresses his desire not to be controlled by his Adeya, recounting how his sanity shattered in the bank after stabbing a Peste member. Sungho proposes a solution, building a strong mind and body. He continues, stating that those who cannot love themselves deny the effort they have put in. Jin-sung ponders that loving himself means accepting the part of him that derives pleasure from killing. Sungho questions if he has put effort into becoming a murderer, urging him to love the side of himself that worked hard to overcome the murderous intent. He shares his own experience of 3 years in middle school, where he continuously lost and despised his weakness. Only by analyzing his Adeya and understanding his limits did he surpass them. He removes his shirt to reveal his ongoing dedication to becoming his best self. Inspired by Sungho's words, Jin-sung resolves to surpass himself and embrace his true potential. A teacher addresses a group of students and informs them that firearms are ineffective against Adeya manifestations, but chemical attacks pose a different threat. They are explained that once a person reverts to their normal human state, they will be killed. The 10th platoon is engaged in training exercises involving thick gas. Ji-young questions the purpose of practicing resistance and even attempts to escape the training session. The training takes place during their chemistry class, and as a motivational measure, the students are instructed to recite the national anthem while surrounded by dense gas. However, when the training concludes, only Jin-sung reports as the representative of his class, since all 10 of his classmates have passed out. He consistently ranks first in a range of training exercises, including basic kitted training, crawl training, and individual battle training. His unwavering determination to surpass himself drives him forward. During stealth training, he exhibits remarkable skills, eluding detection until the platoon leader declares the session over. All of Jin-sung's accomplishments are meticulously documented in the report of the 10th platoon handed over by his homeroom teacher to the principal. However, the principal deems the report insufficient, as the 998 Infiltration Training Brigade is closing in as they are displeased with Heian High School receiving government support. The principal proposes short-term combat training for the second-year students, as the third-year students are already performing well. Next day, during training, the students are carrying boxes. Jin-sung, seeking to further develop his muscles, decides to carry 2, earning him the nickname Mr. Excessive from Cyan. The way everyone around him interacts with him undergoes a noticeable change due to his attitude toward everything. He asks Cyan if she wants to know more about his Adeya. She nonchalantly responds that other girls might have swooned, but she held back. Jin-sung reveals that he already disclosed the information to An Sungho. Cyan, determined to find out, grabs him by the collar and insists he tells her everything. He promises to share the details when they have some privacy. Meanwhile, Ji-young reflects on the intense and murderous aura he sensed emanating from Jin-sung on the day of the incident. Reluctant to accept the truth until it is confirmed, he wonders how it is possible that Il-jung ran away in fear of Jin-sung. When Jin-sung inquires about the purpose behind moving the boxes, Cyan informs him that it is part of guerrilla training, also referred to as ranger training. The second-year students are clad in black uniforms and carry large bags reminiscent of those used in the army as they embark on their training journey. Cyan and Jin-sung, as always, stick together. She questions him why, who used to detest HT and was dragged into it by Sungho, is now engaging in it so excessively. Jin-sung responds by saying that Sunbae would have carried dumbbells in each hand as well. As they near the narrow bank, the site of the pest incident, they are granted a break. During the break, some individuals approach Cyan and praise her, requesting her autograph. She realizes that this is the principal's tactic to advertise the school. The students become topics of conversation in the media, and even store owners have been approached by teachers beforehand as a means of promoting the school. However, this approach seems inhumane for the victims of the incident. Jin-sung also feels the same way, but he has made a decision that he is above his soul, believing that there are no leads within it and that he can change. As they resume their march, the principal discusses Cyan over the phone, mentioning that the route through the incident area is working out. He expresses his intention to encourage the students who are exhausted from the training as he leaves in his car, stating that it is his role as the battalion commander. The march continues, and their next trail proves to be steep, prompting the teacher to instruct them to take a longer break. Cyan playfully teases Jin Sung with his nickname, Mr. Excessive, and offers him chocolate. Suddenly, a car stops in front of them, revealing the principal's presence. He asks Cyan if the march is manageable and treats Jin Sung differently, instructing him to address him as the battalion commander. The principal asks him to open his bag, seemingly looking for a mistake he made in following the packing list. Finding nothing, he points to something at the bottom of his bag and finds sandbags he has for training during the break. Cyan grows angry at the principal's attempt to smoke Jin Sung for something, but the teacher intervenes. Meanwhile, An Sungho and Jui stand on top of a structure, with Sungho advising Jui to focus solely on Jin Sung, despite her pointing out that Jin Sung's Adaya is not worth much. Sungho reveals that Jin Sung ranks higher than the entire first squad, leaving her surprised and questioning who is higher than whom. Sungho explains to Jui that her evaluation of Jin Sung is based solely on a fight that occurred this semester, neglecting to consider the efforts he has put in during the past 2 months since joining HT. He urges her to see for herself and declares that this guerrilla training will be his solo stage. The building they enter is new and designed in a military style. Jin Sung is assigned the last number, 300, causing him to wonder if he is still at the bottom. All the students are instructed to quickly report to the PT center, and the voice on the speaker turns out to be An Sungho. He introduces himself as the instructor for guerrilla training and announces that the students with the first numbers will be in room 1, while those with the last numbers will be in room 10, with the rest of the numbers filling the rooms in between. These numbers represent the rank evaluated by the school. Sungho emphasizes that during this training, the score will be independent of their numbers and reveals that guerrilla training will make up a significant percentage of their final grade. He further explains that their combat rank may change dramatically. After the announcement, the students are given a lunch break, and the assistant instructors will later explain the schedule. However, the students with the ending numbers are left with almost nothing to eat. Jin Sung asked for food from An Sungho and shares it with everyone. Grateful for his gesture, they express their gratitude and promise to repay him. Jin Sung asks them to make a different promise instead, not to give up on the training. Though initially discouraged, being the weakest 15 males in the school, they find inspiration in Jin Sung's determination despite his rank and aspire to be like him. They appoint him as the room leader, and all agree not to give up. The guerrilla PT training is scheduled for 3 p.m. During the training, the students appear exhausted, but those in room 10 show remarkable passion and give their best. Jui is surprised by their dedication. When the training ends, they are advised to check the Fire Watch schedule posted on the pinboard. The trainer calls out Trainee 300 and awards all members of Room 10 extra points, which fills them with joy. At night, Jin Sung waits for Cyan, anxiously glancing at his watch. Cyan approaches Jin Sung and asks if he had been waiting long, but he reassures her that it's fine. She questions if they are together due to their ranking of 1 and 300 and inquires when he plans to escape the last place. He confidently tells her that he will acquire a badge of rank as he was the only trainee in his class. They cheerfully discuss the possibilities of him becoming a private, a corporate worker, or even a surgeon, always dreaming big. Cyan mumbles that it might be a good idea. The next day, early morning training begins, and everyone looks like zombies except for Jin Sung, who is 2 laps ahead of them. The instructor watches him with pride while the nurse, who is also present, reveals to Jui that none of the room 10 guys received any medical treatment or time for recovery after yesterday's PT training. She is surprised and refers to them as a horde of zombies. Sungho finds the name cool, and the extra points for the morning double time are mostly awarded to the boys from room 10, with Cyan coming in second and Jin Sung consistently at the top. Another assistant instructor witnesses their training and can't believe that these are the weakest second-year students. He becomes scared when Jin Sung calls out to him from behind, curious about something but thinks that he seems normal and decides to refresh himself by talking to him. Jin Sung asks to clear the obstacle course quickly but advises against it since Sungho will call those who finish all the training stations to the PT training until everyone completes the obstacle course. Jin Sung and the other boys get excited upon hearing that the faster they clear the course, the more points they earn, and the longer the PT session will be. The assistant is shocked to realize that Jin Sung is the boss of the psychopaths. The instructor from earlier and others observing the scene asked how these boys managed to arrive so quickly, and whether weren't they instructed properly. The assistant explains that when 300 tells them to jump, all 14 of them jump. When he tells them to cross, they all cross, and when he tells them to climb, they all climb. They exchange glances, realizing that Jin Sung was the one running away from the fight during the squad battles. They can't help but be surprised by the change in his behavior, as he now encourages everyone. After successfully clearing the obstacle course, they are ready to head to the PT room. The assistant instructor slaps his head and asks if he can switch out. On day 3, Sung-ho announces that they will be doing training in the Adia training area due to the extreme heat. The purpose of this training is to ensure that trainees can continue combat using it even when their stamina is at its limit, unlike how they previously used their Adia in a normal state. The training aims to bring out their hidden Adia power in an exhausted state, allowing trainees with strong willpower to contemplate how to use their Adia effectively. He adds that this training focuses on Adia power usage, specifically on breaking boulders. Each trainee can choose to break one, and they will switch if they can no longer manifest their Adia. He explains that some of them might feel disadvantaged, but he confidently states that his Adia is a personal combat one. He demonstrates it on a boulder and effortlessly breaks it. Jin-sung observes that Sunbae's strength has increased, and he can ignore a certain amount of weight when throwing. After breaking the boulder, he instructs the trainees to do the same as he did. Ju calls out trainee number 1, Saeon, who confidently showcases her goblin swordsmanship and effortlessly cuts the boulder into pieces. She acknowledges that Saeon's innate worth is in a completely different class. However, Ji-young fails to break the boulder as he attempts it with a rotten tree. Sung-ho reassures him that his Adia will still be taken into consideration when grading. Finally, it's trainee number 300's turn. The other students start talking about the Room 10 trainees and how he is their leader. Jin-sung manifests his Adia, initially summoning a dagger, but then his original murderous aura begins to emanate. Ji-young and Saeon become wary of him. Following Sung-ho's command, Jin-sung easily breaks the boulder into tiny, almost invisible pieces. He struggles to resist the murderous aura, but eventually manages to turn it off with Sung-ho's advice to ask for help if needed. Jin-sung doesn't want to rely on someone else every time to turn off his Adia. He expresses his gratitude to Sung-ho for the assistance, explaining that he used his Adia called Partial Murder, with partial power from Absolute Murder, earning a ranking of A. He reveals that he unleashed only his right hand, and that it becomes more challenging with more parts under control, which depends on his mental state. He proudly informs Saeon that he did it, and his teammates lift him up in celebration. Later that night, Jin-sung knocks on the nurse's door. However, because the trainees in Room 10 have never been excluded, they haven't been able to fully recover their stamina, and there is a limit to natural recovery. As he is pondering if the nurse is not in her room, his homeroom teacher shows up and warns him that coming here without permission will result in punishment. He exhibits unusual behavior, appearing worried about other teachers finding him here. Meanwhile, the door opens, revealing that the teachers were in a meeting. One of the teachers sees Jin-sung and sarcastically remarks, "Double F rank, the one and only of Haeun High. What brings you here?" He insults Jin-sung, suggesting that he came to complain about the training being too hard. The teacher drags him inside the room, where the rest is discussing what to eat and jokingly calling Sung-ho strict. Jin-sung thinks to himself about whether they have the right to talk about Sung-ho when they are just fooling around. However, he replies politely, stating that the training was good. His homeroom teacher, who wants him gone, mentions that attendance is about to begin. Another teacher asks Jin-sung why he came, and he explains that he came to see the nurse. The nurse, Ah-young, asks if he is injured and says he wants to talk about stamina recovery for the guys in Room 10. The teacher checks the rankings and is surprised to see Jin-sung in the first place. He questions if Jin-sung paid Sung-ho or if Sung-ho went easy on him because he is in HT. The teachers are shocked to see that all the Room 10 guys are ahead, speculating about a group bribe or manipulation. Jin-sung speaks up, defending Sung-ho and stating that he is not someone who can be influenced by money. The teacher remains skeptical, pointing out that Jin-sung is also ranked first in Adia training. Jin-sung gets angry for being suspected for score manipulation, but Jin-sung's homeroom teacher assures him that he will take care of it, and escorts him to go back to his dorm, while Jin-sung calms himself down, realizing that having a relaxed attitude is crucial in life. He informs all the teachers that if the entire Room 10 manages to get within the top 30, it would be a miraculous achievement. The teacher responds that they will all be promoted to corporal, and even if a single person fails to be at the top, they will all be demoted. They take it as a joke, although Jin-sung is completely serious. Teachers propose bets among themselves, wagering $20 that at least one person from Room 10 will make it into the top 30, although $100 that no one will. The nurse comes outside and apologizes, saying that she should have taken him out quickly. He asks for her help to restore their stamina and win the bet. She comments on his incredible confidence. When Jin-sung returns, he finds his teammates being beaten up for tampering with the boulder during training. The bullies demand to speak to their boss, while Jin-sung decides to call Sung-ho after witnessing the teacher's attitude toward them. The bully sees him hiding when one of his teammates falls in front of him. He is trying to hold back his strength, realizing that he will lose too much compared to what he will gain by defeating the bullies. His thought process is that the nurse will heal them if they get beaten up. The bully leader uses his Adea to restrain Jin-sung by wrapping his arms and legs around him, making it difficult for him to breathe. The bully continues to provoke him, claiming that there's no dirty play he can do at the moment. Jin-sung has made up his mind to let the bully have his moment and then leave afterward, knowing that the nurse will come to heal them anyway. His teammates try to intervene and stop the bully, but their attempts are unsuccessful. The bully taunts Jin-sung, suggesting that he should stay hidden if he's weak. One of Jin-sung's teammates reveals that he was on the rooftop when Jiyoung called Cyan, and even though Jin-sung stopped them, they still thought less of the leader because of his rank. They acknowledge that he is an incredible guy, but the bully remains unfazed by their story. Jin-sung reflects on how he taught them to never give up, but if he fights now, they won't get the rank badge they desire. However, he realizes that the badge is not what the zombie horde truly wants, and he considers himself pathetic for forgetting his own advice. Manifesting his Adea, the bully scoffs at his dagger, commenting that it's a weak Adea and questioning what he can do with it. Jin-sung calls out to the zombie horde, instructing them not to rely solely on Adea. He uses his physical strength to attack the bully, emphasizing that the bully relies solely on Adea and lacks strength in his hands or legs. Jin-sung urges his teammates to fight using their physical strength alone. The bully eventually passes out, overwhelmed by Jin-sung's physical assault. Jin-sung instructs his teammates to take the trash out, referring to the defeated bully. The next day, in the training room 10 once again surpasses the other rooms. The nurse informs Ju that she was able to barely restore trainee 7, but he has mental shock and is unable to participate in training. She adds that the room 10 trainees, who were beaten up and barely recovered, did not receive stamina recovery treatment. Sungo calls trainee number 300 and deducts points from him due to the situation, causing him to drop back to rank 300. They try to explain to the instructor that room 1 attacked them first and their leader was merely protecting them, but he instructs them to move to the mess hall. Jin-sung tells his teammates to stay calm, and Sungo deducts points from room 10 for refusing to follow orders. One of the trainees becomes very angry, questioning whether they are there just to pave the way for others. However, they accept the punishment as a form of reflection, realizing that their leader must be even more frustrated than they are. Sungo notifies them that on Friday afternoon, trench wars take place, which is the segment with the highest point distribution in the entire guerrilla training. He asks them to prove themselves. Jin-sung is filled with a burning passion to succeed.